Well, hi everybody. Hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. Today is November the 1st, 2019. And being November 1st, that makes it All Saints Day. I'm just going to adjust just slightly here, so hold on to your horses. I'll move you up. There we go. That's better. And now I'm sort of more centered in the frame, right? There we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed yesterday with Cousin Ralph. He was a bit of a character. I'll try and get him on again next time they give him a day pass. Anyway, we'll hopefully have him on again. But, as I said, today is November 1st, and the day after Halloween, which, of course, Halloween means the eve of All Hallows, or All Holies, which makes today All Holies Day, or All Saints Day. So, here's to all the saints who from their labors rest. Well, being it's Friday, we'll get on with our normal routine, which is, of course, shout-outs, a story, and groaner of the week. And the shout-outs today go to two really good channels. The first one is Crusader Dan. And Crusader Dan does, well, they're not really urbexes, they're video tours of historic places in England. And very, very, very interesting, really beautiful scenery, and well worth watching his channel. So that's Crusader Dan. And the second channel also starts with a C, is Cindy Vlogs. Just make sure I get that right. I always forget where the S goes. Yeah, Cindy Vlogs. And Cindy is down in Nevada, and does all kinds of wonderful things on her channel. She put up a Halloween video that was pretty spooktacular, so you should check it out. But that's Cindy Vlogs. All right, it's time to get on with our story. Excuse me while I get my story to get on with. Most of you have probably heard of Ben Franklin. You may know of him for his kite flying abilities and zapping skeleton keys hanging from the string on the kite with lightning, or discovering electricity. There we go. But he's also famous for a few other things, some quotes. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. There's one of the quotes he's acquainted with. And it was Ben Franklin who started Poor Richard's Almanac. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So let's get on with this. I'm reading, so you'll have to excuse me not looking you in the eye while I'm reading to you, but here we go. Franklin had been working in the printing and publishing field from the time he was 12. As owner of his own firm since 1730, he had printed others' almanacs and was well aware of their popularity. Along with the Bible, almanacs were among the few books found at every fireside. They featured helpful astronomical data, rising and setting of the sun, aspects of the moon, weather forecasts, and predictions based on astrology. Often they contained practical information on planting and harvesting, recipes, health aids, and a calendar of events such as fairs and court sessions. Some also contained odd facts, poems, even brief articles on scientific or other subjects. That was standard almanac fare, dry and a bit dull, before Franklin brought out the first edition of Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732. The first edition went through 3 printings in a month. Franklin's major innovation? The fictional character that launched Franklin on his legendary career. It was Richard Saunders, who spoke in the preface as the supposed author. Franklin molded him into Poor Richard, a poor farmer, uneducated but full of horse sense, and pious but earthy. Because he and his wife, Bridget, were struggling to make a go of it, the average colonist could identify with them. Franklin astutely let Richard and Bridget write the preface to each edition. Beyond this, he had them refer to their domestic trials and triumphs, and this little drama gave a soap opera-like continuity to his almanacs. Since most writing in America till then had either religious or political themes, Franklin also devised and deserves credit as an early American humorist. There was an element of comedy and even satire in much of what Richard Saunders wrote, especially in his parodies of contemporary astrological predictions. Franklin's gimmick of dispersing proverbs, maxims, and other sayings throughout the almanacs was not original, but Franklin exploited this tradition with a genius, for his sayings, coming as they seemed from Poor Richard, thus had a personal urgency. Franklin also ranged beyond the repertoire of proverbs familiar to his readers and took, as he himself admitted, the gleanings of the sense of all ages and nations. He borrowed from other almanacs, ancient authors such as Aesop, as well as more modern writers, but he rewrote the material in a folksy style, quoting, "Fresh fish and new-come guests smell by that they are 3 days old," unquote, became Poor Richard's "Fish and visitors stink in 3 days." The best known of Poor Richard's sayings stressed the no-nonsense values of the ordinary colonist: hard work, thrift, moderation in taste, prudence in all affairs. The most quoted, already ages old before Franklin adapted it, is, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." Others include, "Display is as false as it is costly," and "None preaches better than the ant, and she says nothing." Franklin occasionally also used the racy tone his age enjoyed. Quote, "Let thy maidservant be faithful, strong, and homely," unquote. So it was that Poor Richard's Almanac became a bestseller in the colonies. It sold about 10,000 copies a year, approximately 1 copy for every 100 colonists. For the preface to the last edition, Franklin went through all his previous almanacs and skimmed off the many sayings about hard work, thrift, and ways to succeed. He strung these together as a speech given by Father Abraham, an old man Richard Saunders heard at an auction. Then, following Poor Richard's advice on frugality, Franklin issued this preface as a separate volume, The Way to Wealth, one of the first American self-help books. That had an even greater success than the almanacs, going into several foreign translations and illustrated editions, and was even issued as a children's book. Later attacked for its materialistic approach, it was deliberately one-sided in its aim, ironically to help colonists save so they could pay their taxes to the British. Franklin became so occupied with other affairs that he ceased publishing his almanac after 1758. But its influence continued. About 1796, a broadside called Bowles' Moral Pictures appeared with 24 woodcuts, illustrating such precepts as "Keep thy shop, and thy shop will keep thee." Other almanacs and calendars trading on Franklin's name are being published to this day. Kite flying excepted, it is the almanac that is associated in most people's minds with Franklin today. And though by the time of the Revolution he was internationally known as a scientist, philosopher, statesman, and bon vivant, until his death most people identified Franklin with the pious, parsimonious, folkly Richard Saunders. When John Paul Jones named a ship outfitted for him by the French, he did not call it the Franklin or the Washington, but Bon Ami Richard. There you have it. There's the story behind Poor Richard's Almanac and its publisher, Benjamin Franklin, who created the character Richard Saunders, for whom the almanac was named. Poor Richard. All right, hope you enjoyed today's story. And now it's time for the Groaner of the Week. Browen has come to hear it. Hey, Browen. Say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. Yeah. So, what is our groaner of the week? Well, a gentleman was driving down the highway one day, and a very tender soul, cared about animals. Yeah, we care about animals, don't we, Browen? And unfortunately, a rabbit ran right out on the highway in front of his car, and try as he might, he couldn't avoid it, and he hit the rabbit. Well, he felt so bad, he pulled off to the side of the road and backed his car up along the shoulder, stopped, got out, and was taking a look at this poor rabbit lying there on the side of the road, and just felt so bad that he'd hit it and hurt it. And another car pulls up and stops, and the gentleman gets out and says, everything okay? Do you need help with anything? The first gentleman says, well, I feel terrible. He says, this rabbit ran right out in front of my car, and I tried to avoid it, but I couldn't. I hit it, and it just breaks my heart. The other guy looks and he goes, you know what? I think I have something that might help. And he goes off, and he comes back a few minutes later after digging around in his trunk, and he has a big aerosol can. Excuse me a second. Nothing tastes as good as cat hair. Anyway, he shakes this can really well, and he sprays the rabbit with it. He says, there, I should do it. And the guy looks at him like, are you crazy? And all of a sudden this rabbit pops up, gives itself a shake, hops off a few feet, turns around and raises a paw and goes. Hops off a little further, stops, turns around, looks at the two men and goes. Hops off to the edge of the bush, turns around, looks at the two men again and goes. And disappears into the brush. Well, the gentleman who hit the rabbit is just astounded, and he looks at the guy and says, that's a miracle. I'm sure that rabbit was dead. I mean, I really clobbered it. In fact, I think I actually ran over it. What on earth is in that can? And the guy goes, oh, it's nothing. It's just hair restorer and wave set. There you go. Hope you enjoyed today's show, and we'll catch you next Tuesday when we have some fun in the kitchen. And oh, by the way, one of the viewers made a comment, and I had to explain to Cousin Ralph that Polygrip is something to help keep his dentures in, because when he saw it, he goes, this guy knows my sister. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you know Polly. She's the one that's in the women's wrestling circuit. That's her go-by name is Polygrip. So I had to explain to him that, no, I don't think he knew your sister. I think he was referring to the product to keep your dentures in place. But to the person who suggested Polygrip, I thank you, and Cousin Ralph thanks you. And hope you all have a great weekend. We'll see you Tuesday. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.